Howdy everybody, how are you all doing today? I'm not doing that bad, but we got something to talk about. 2020 Silverado 2500 HD, and between you and me, it's a pretty interesting topic. The 2020 Chevrolet 2500, 2020, heavy-duty truck lineup from Chevrolet. I'm looking forward to see what GM has, because honestly, between the half tons, I like the GM ones better. Like the GMC-looking ones, they look better to me. I'm curious to see what the GMC 2500 and 3500 HD trucks look like. Moving on from that, I'm going too fast. Wind noise. But moving on from that completely, the 2020 2500s. Now, I'm going to start off with the platform. These trucks are going to be on pretty much the same type of platform as the half tons. Now, I do want to also point out all of the information that I'm going to be, saying is sourced from GM Authority, actual Chevrolet press releases, and TFL Truck. So if you guys want to fact check me on anything, check those three sources. Now, there was a little bit of discrepancy between GM Authority and TFL Truck, just a little bit. So I'm going to be covering kind of both bases. They mostly differed on powertrain, but I will get to that in a second. But for right now, platform. These trucks are going to be on essentially a beefed up version of the half-ton platform, which I believe GM calls like the TF1 platform or something along them lines, which is good because from what I've experienced, I've actually had a chance to ride in one of these, by the way. I didn't film it because I'm a dummy, but I actually had a chance to ride in one of the new 2019s, and they are exceptionally smooth and well-mannered on the road. And I'm going way too fast to get more wind noise. Yeah, I'm sorry about the wind noise. I can't sit still. I gotta go do stuff in town. I got errands to run, but... So, with that being said, the beefed up version, it will be rougher on the road. That's just what's going to happen. The only way you can get a truck with higher weight standards to ride as smooth or smoother than a half ton is a full air suspension. Now, it's possible that GM could be doing this. We haven't gotten very many specs on the vehicles, All we know really is platform, a couple of driveline changes, and obviously the very, very obvious exterior changes. So, yeah, I'm going to be breaking up this video into a couple of sections, so just bear with me here. So, that being said, the platform and suspension is based off of the half-ton, okay? Which is pretty much what GM's done always and forever. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these new trucks ride. I am, at the first possibility that I can, I'm going to try and jump into a 2019 with a camera and a salesperson or someone who's very familiar with the truck and talk about it. That's a goal. Don't worry about that. Same thing with the 2020 HD when it finally comes out. I want to do it. I have friends at a dealership. I'm going to try and convince them to let me do it, But that aside, I'm very looking forward to how this truck handles, takes bumps, overall road manner and noise, unlike this piece of shit that makes all the fucking wind noise in the world. But, like I said, that aside, moving on. Next point. We're going to go to exterior at this point. Now, the exterior on the 2019 half-ton was a huge point of contention for all sorts of Chevy fans. I myself, initially when I saw it, was like, okay. Like when I saw the Trail Boss reveal, where they helicopter brought it in, I thought it was pretty cool looking. I thought that was going to be a Trail Boss specific front end. But then when I saw that GM was like, no, all of the Chevy front ends are going to be like this, I was like, But, hear me out on this. The pictures don't do the trucks justice. If you have not had an opportunity to see a 2019 Chevrolet or a 2019 GMC half-ton yet, go to your nearest Chevrolet or GMC dealership and check one out. The pictures don't do them justice. I don't know what it is about them. Maybe it's just curving, or maybe it's like lens or something, but the camera seems to warp some of the dimensions of the truck. It seems to make it way, way taller than it actually is. Now, I'm not saying it's a short truck. It's way tall, like it's 1.5 feet taller than this half-ton, with not a whole lot more ground clearance either, which to me I don't understand, because this truck is roomy as all hell. But you know, like, you have to look at the truck in person to really get a feel for it and to really decide whether or not you're like. There was a while there where I detested the way they looked, because I kept seeing them in photos and videos. It's like, bleh. But now that I've seen one up close and I've been inside one and I've ridden around in one, it's like, dang, bro, these trucks are nice. Like, I really like the way they look, especially the LTZ Z71 and the Trail Boss. Those are the best looking. Well, I guess the Z71 and the Trail Boss are pretty much the same thing now, but I like to still call it an LTZ C71 just because it's still a 4-wheel drive. First gear, 89 kilometers an hour. Yeah! I can't really make a huge judgment on whether or not I'll like the 2020 Duramax for sure. Yeah, I'm just going to call it the Duramax instead of the 2500 and 3500. I can't say whether or not I'm really going to like it until I can actually get in front of one in real life, walk around the truck, and formulate my own opinion. But from what I've seen on pictures, the truck don't look bad. Now that can go either way. If it kind of is like the half-ton in that it's opposite the way I view it in real life, it's opposite the way I view it in pictures, it could mean that when the truck finally rolls off the assembly line and I see it, I might not like it. But I'm optimistic. The truck looks good in pictures. It's highly likely it'll probably look good out in the world. Now let's address the semi-truck thing. A couple people I noticed on both TFL and other outlets have said, oh, Chevy's trying to make a freaking Mack truck. Well, I can see where they're going. The two biggest styling things that I think lend itself to the big truck is, number one, the size of the goddamn thing. Now, if these trucks are any bigger at all than the current generation of Duramaxes, and I'm talking like not the lifted, but like the 4x4, the C71 factory lifted big trucks, the Duramaxes. I'm 6'2". The hoods on those trucks range anywhere from my Adam's apple to the bottom of my chin. They are bloody fucking huge. These trucks, like they're too big. Not really, but like they're massive. So if the 2020s are any bigger, they're essentially gonna be the size of a medium duty truck, which to laymen, semi trucks, they're gonna be huge. They're gonna be like the size of a U-Haul E4500. Speaking of the E4500, that was actually what I was looking forward to. Remember, I think it was 2016 or I think it was 2016 when they unveiled the new 4500 trucks and up, the 4500 cabin chassis trucks. I thought that the 2020 Duramaxes were going to look a little bit like that. I was looking forward to that because I honestly think that the 4500 series of trucks from Chevy look really good, like beautiful, like they're awesome. I was looking forward to that. I was hoping it was going to look like that, but unfortunately not. Now, not to say that this new style to me doesn't look good. Now, I do just want to say everything I'm saying in this video is my opinion plus speculation based off of the very few facts that we get. So if I'm not 100% right and the truck ends up looking like hot garbage by the time it rolls onto a lot, not my fault. I'm just saying, to me, it kind of looks good in pictures. Like I said, have to see it in person to really get a feel for it. But moving on from that, let's talk about exterior features. the other design cues that make this truck look semi. I think the biggest thing is the way the grille and the headlights interact with each other. Now, if you look at them, the kind of center bar where Chevrolet's always plastered. You know, Chevy is usually got a nice big bow tie right in the middle of the grille. You know, it's very obvious. All sorts of trucks that Chevy has ever built usually has a nice little bow tie right in the middle of the grille. This time, for 2019, both the half-ton and the 1-ton and up, they have like a high waist, like a high center mark, kind of. The Chevrolet badging is high up on the grille, like really high, like probably 2/3 of the way up on the grille. Which on the Chevy kind of looks weird. We're not used to that. Even Dodge and Ford are pretty consistent in keeping everything right in the middle of the grille, you know? So I think that adds to the visual height of the truck. Like, that's a design cue that makes the truck seem bigger, right? Because if you play with proportioning right in design, if you take something that people perceive as symmetrical on an axis and you slightly change it, like move it up a little bit or move it down a little bit, it'll make it seem bigger or smaller based on which way you move it on that axis. Axis, you know, X, Y, Z, all that. So we're used to the Chevy badge and the Chevy logo being in the center of the grille. By Chevrolet moving it up, it makes the top part appear smaller and the bottom part appear much larger, which it is. Everything below the grille is a lot more than what's above that center mark on the grille. But think of it this way: if you're standing up against a wall and there's a line, say 10 feet up, and you stand right up against the wall and you look up, what's below that line looks huge to you. What's above that line doesn't look that big. You know, because you're proportioning, or well, your perception of where you're looking, that huge amount of area above that line is such a minute angle that to you it doesn't look like much. It's kind of like a visual trick. That's a nice little half-ton. But it's just a visual trick to make the truck appear larger. That plus the trucks are already damn huge, so they're going to be a really big truck. Once you see them on the road and lifted and stuff, it's going to be like, how the hell are you driving a goddamn barn? I think that lends itself to the size and overall semi-like appearance. Now the other part of it is the headlight arrangement. Now from what I can see, it looks like there's going to be an LED kind of daylight running time light above that center strip, alright? Well, above, slightly parallel to that center strip. And then below it looks like some HIDs to me. I'm not a light expert, but they look like HID projectors. I think those are going to be your headlight slash brights. And you're really only going to see those on during the night. But they're mounted so low on the grille that they're almost touching the bumper. Now, on a truck that's normally proportioned, where Chevy usually does the split headlights, where you got your regular running lights or your high beams up high, and then the counterparts below that center line that we were talking about earlier. It's not there. Like, they're all below it, besides the daytime running lights. Now, being Chevy guys, we're not used to that. That is a different way of doing things. But I think it looks good. I think it gives the front end of the truck a lot more aggressive, kind of meaty, and that is kind of good looking. So I can see why people are calling it a semi-truck, a semi-pickup truck, because it kind of looks like one. And honestly, if they're much bigger than the ones that are already out, they're pretty much going to be that size anyways. That being said, moving on to other exterior features. Let's look at the hood. Now the hood, I think, looks really good. It's very, very reminiscent of the current L5P hood with a massive hood scoop, which is functional on the L5P, by the way. It is functional. Now moving on from the hood. Now the cab and overall body. The only part of the truck that is shared with the half-ton is actually like the cab superstructure. Everything else is all 2500 specific, okay? Or like Duramax truck specific, which I think is cool. It makes the trucks differentiate more. Chevy really seems to want to change up their game, you know, and that's a smart thing, you know, staying in the exact same thing for a long time eventually gets people bored. People like new things, people like discovering, people like learning, people like innovating. So when a company does that, people are interested. Now, another exterior feature that Chevy is like, only Chevy does this to the extent of my knowledge, and Chevy is really leading the game. Remember when you were a little kid and your dad told you to help him unload the truck, and you couldn't get up onto the tailgate because you were too short, right? So what did you do? You walked around to the side of the truck, you put one of your feet just on the inside of the rim. You put your other foot on top of the hubcap, you stepped up on the hubcap, got your other foot on the tire, and then leaned into the box. Well, now we're all grown up, but trucks are getting dummy tall. So we have to do the same thing anyways. Chevy doesn't want us to be ruining their hubcaps anymore, so what they did is they actually just built in a step in the front of the box, in the box side. That is, like, ingenious. Like, it's just little things like that that you, like, oh, whatever, it's never gonna, and then it's like you end up using it all the fucking time. Like the step tailgate, or the step bumpers, oh my god, I use those all the time. But I am really looking forward to seeing that. I feel like it's going to be more sturdy than people will give it credit for because it's built into a steel panel on the truck. So that's a cool thing. They're keeping the bumper steps, apparently. Apparently they made them bigger, like taller and a little bit deeper for people with work boots, which is nice. You know, it's a work truck, should be able to fit work stuff in it. Now, as far as tailgate options and stuff, I'm not sure. I imagine it'll come with the standard, you know, easy down tailgate. It might also have an electronic, like, up. You know, you press the button and it goes up as well. I don't like that. I like the easy down tailgate, but I like a physical latch for a tailgate, like a mechanical linkage. I like that. I do not like electronics on something that will be worked as hard as the tailgate. You know, I imagine they've done tons of testing to make it reliable, yada yada yada, but it's just, I don't trust electronics where a mechanical linkage has been used for the last 100 years. We've covered platform, we've covered exterior. Now the thing I'm most interested about, I'm not even going to touch interior because I do not care about interior. If I cared about interior, do you think I would leave my dash and my seat as torn up as they are? No, I don't care about interior. It's a minor thing to me. The biggest thing to me, drivetrain. Now, there's a small bit of disappointment in saying goodbye to a really good friend here, but there's also the, I guess the promise of a new good brother of ours. Now, according to what GM Authority says, the 6-liter L96 designation engine, I believe, called, is going bye-bye. We're not going to see it anymore in a heavy-duty truck. But in its place is a new gasoline V8 that's 6.6 liters of displacement. 6.6. Same as the Duramax in displacement. Now, the 6-liter L96 was an LS engine. This new 6.6 liter, no one seems to know whether it'll be another LS engine, an LT engine, that's like the direct injection kid of the LS, whether it will be a dual overhead cam or a single overhead cam or just a completely foreign architecture that Chevy doesn't really do. Because I've also heard a bunch of speculation that the new Corvette engine is going to be like a sub 5-liter dual overhead cam twin turbo V8. Which, you know what, if they're going mid-engine, they're going to want to do dual overheads just because RPM, and RPM is what really makes those cars fun. You know, sports cars, like, people like RPM in a sports car. So, I can see that being a thing. I don't want to see that in trucks, though. The LS architecture, slash, if you really want to call it the Chevy like Gen 5 small block, or whatever the fuck people call it. Whatever, you know. But those engines have proven themselves time and time again to be fucking near indestructible and last forever if properly maintained. it's very easy to get 1,000,000 miles out of a truck like that. Goodbye to the L96. We're saying hello to a new 6.6-liter gasoline V8. In a perfect world to me, this new engine is going to be based off the LT architecture, meaning the LT1, LT4, LT5 engines. Now, what really differentiates an LT from an LS is slightly different routing of coolant and oil passages in the block and direct injection. Okay? Those are the biggest differences between an LS and an LT engine. That allows the LT engine to effectively manage heat much better than the LS, because that was like the one thing that LSs do sometimes have a problem with, is overheating. But every engine will have a problem with overheating if you twin turbo it. But no, seriously, the LT engine, I think, will be our new truck V8, because GM spent way too much time and energy and money investigating and researching a brand new engine architecture to only put it in like 3 different models. You could really only get the LT in Camaros, Corvettes, and what was the CTS-V for a little while. You get like an LT1 and an LT4 in the CTS-V. Which, don't get me wrong, GM's probably sold tons of those engines, but I don't think they're done with that architecture. If we know anything about GMC, they build an engine and then they carry it for fucking ever. Watch the small block, the most produced engine on earth, I bet, period. Now, I can't say whether that's a fact, but it feels like it. You know, everything's got a small block. This has got a small block. That truck, that truck, that truck, that car all have small blocks. You know? So, I feel like the LT isn't done yet. The LS has been carried for 20-ish years by now. They're not done with the LT yet. I have a feeling that they're going to carry the LT into this new 6.6-liter displacement truck. When they come back from the store, we'll talk about diesel. Ooh. That's always a good noise to hear in coupe. But yeah, okay, now back on the subject of drivetrain, of which I love to talk about. That's my favorite part of a new vehicle. It's usually the first thing I talk about, but I need to get the other stuff off my mind because I can remember drivetrain, can't really remember visual stuff that well. Well, visual-ish. But other things I don't really care about. Okay. So, we talked about the new gas engine. We're not sure the designation of it yet. It could be some extension of the LT family. It could be an LS, again. Or it could be a completely new block. I think it's going to be, and I'm hoping for it to be, a LT block. Because, like I said, GM put way too much time and energy to waste it on only... Well, they're not wasting it. Oh, jeez. Oh. GM has a habit of making one engine for a specific vehicle, and it's like, wait a minute, this works good for everything, so let's just put it in everything. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of engine. Like I said, hoping it's going to be an LT pattern engine. Speaking about diesel engines, there's conflicting data on this. According to GM Authority, the L5P, the current generation diesel, that makes about 910 pound-feet of torque, about 450-ish horsepower, is going to be the engine in the 2020. Seems reasonable. GM usually carries diesel engines for about 3, 4, 5-ish years before moving on to a new one. Same thing with the LLY, same thing with the LBZ and the LML. But other people are claiming that this motor will be a completely new one. Now, when I say other people, TFL Truck says that there's going to be a new 6.6-liter diesel engine. That's going to be same torque as the L5P, but apparently better efficiency and better horsepower. I'm not sure who to believe. I think it's more likely that GM, since they're coming out with a new gasser, are going to be keeping the diesel just to be keeping R&D costs low, and that way they're not putting two unproven motors into the same truck, you know, which is smart. GM plays that smart, you know. You don't want to put two completely unproven motors into a relatively unproven platform. Jesus, wow, this was a bad choice. This is bumpy as hell. But I think the L5P might be changed up a wee tiny bit. Like maybe a different turbo, maybe a different fueling, maybe just a different ECM or something. but I feel like the L5P will be tweaked slightly. So that's really all we've got as far as diesel engines and the gas engines. Oh, wait, I didn't spec power numbers for the gas engines. This new, well, let's talk about the old engine first. The 6-liter LS-based L92, or L96? Yeah, L96, not the L92. The L96 made, what was it? It was, you know what, we're going to take the back roads the rest of the way because they're more interesting. The L96 was a 360 to 375 horsepower. And what was it? It was 400 or like 390 to 400 torque flat. Now the reason I'm saying two different numbers and saying 2 is because the L92 or the L96, jeez, why do I keep calling it the L92? The L96 engine was around for a long time. It had a lot of different tweaks and things changed in it over the years. Actually, I'm gonna put on my sunglasses. The snow's hurting my eyes. Oh, much better. But it was tweaked a bunch and it was changed over the years. So there was slightly different power and torque over those years. But, you know, it maxed at around 400 torque and around 375 horsepower. Which, hey, that's no fucking slouch. Back in the days of the muscle car, that was a really hot engine. Nowadays, it's like, meh. But for a truck, that's pretty decent. This new 6.6 promises 400 horsepower and 450 foot-pounds of torque. Now, that's a nearly, I think, nearly 15% increase in torque and just less than a 10% increase in power. But that's a 10% increase in displacement, you know? So I'm thinking it's more likely going to be an LT or an LS engine. I feel like it's going to more likely be an LS or a LT type engine because of the lack of power increase due to the displacement increase. Because as we all know, single and dual overhead cam engines can flow way more air. Air is what makes an engine powerful. Air is what you burn your fuel in, and the power of a vehicle is proportionate to the amount of fuel you burn, period, end of story. You know, so I don't think they're going to go to a dual overhead cam or a multi-valve setup because of this low increase in power. Now, it's not terrible. We're talking at least 25 horse increase. We're talking at least 50 foot-pounds increase, which is really good, you know, but ooh, slippery. Because there wasn't a massive change in power, I think they're sticking with an LS or an LT. I'm hoping an LT because the LT engines are fucking cool, but point taken. You don't need a high revving, high RPM, high horsepower engine for a truck. You want a low, extremely durable, really torquey, low to mid-range power motor. Because unless you drive like me, the most anybody's going to do with their truck is give it a couple of gooses on the throttle to get her going when she's under load. So you might be taking her to 4,500, 5,000 RPM when you're really on it. But unless you drive like my dad and me, who take every engine to 7,000 RPM all the time, because reason. No, I'm kidding, not 7,000, but Dad revs his truck to redline all the time. I drive this truck until it shifts. It's floored until it shifts. This truck is responsible for saving itself. I'm not gonna. Now that we've gotten engines out of the way, let's talk about something that I don't find quite as interesting, but really, honestly, can make a vehicle awesome or hot garbage, no matter what kind of engine's in it, and that is the transmission. Now, for the heavy-duty gasoline trucks, we are getting a apparently brand spanking new GM in-house built 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, that's good. 8 speeds means you can run a longer gear ratio in the back and make up for it with gearing in the transmission. Or you can have a low gear ratio in the back with longer gears in the transmission, or whatever combo you want to do. Or you can do low-low, so you have dummy mechanical torque. But I think they're going to do longer rear end ratios. Like, we're talking like the deepest rear end ratio you're going to be able to get is like a 3.73, and then what you're probably going to end up getting usually is like a 3.42 or something like that. And then you're going to get a lot of gear in your transmission. That'll work for your low end torque. So that's going to be the gasser one. Now that's going to be paired with the new 6.6. Woo! Woo! That's fun. But that's going to be paired with the new 6.6 gasser V8. Now, apparently, now this is also from GM Authority, we are getting a brand spanking new 9 speeds. You know, the number that comes right before 10. 9-speed Allison automatic transmission. Now, Allisons are known all over the place. Everybody wants the Allison, just like everyone kind of wants a Cummins. I'm really looking forward to this new 9-speed Allison because, same thing with that 8-speed. I think they're going to lengthen out the rear gear and add a whole bunch of gearing in the transmission itself, kind of like how semis work. You may think that semis have a really long or a really short rear gear, but in reality, there are some of them out there running like 290s. I think there's actually, I think there is someone around where I live that actually runs like a 210 rear gear, like a 210 or a 212 or something like that rear gear in their truck. Like, that's crazy, but it's got an 18-speed transmission. So first gear is like 40 to 1. You know, you got all the mechanical torque you could ever want, but you also have, when you finally get up to speed, you have so much cruising gear that you're barely turning any RPM, which will really increase efficiency. And that, I think, is what Chevy's going to be going for. They got the power out of the L5P. Fuck off! Damn alarm. But they got the power they wanted out of the L5P. Now I think they're going to be going towards making that engine as efficient as humanly possible, which to me means gearing. We're talking about with drivetrain. We got a completely new engine, 2 completely new transmissions, and the L5P. Which, hey, I'm looking really forward to seeing how this all you know, comes out. I like the L5P. And a bunch of other things. And there's a couple other miscellaneous things that you diesel guys that might like. They're upgrading the fuel pump to a much bigger unit. I think the old one flowed something like 35 liters per minute. Now it's up to like 60 liters per minute. And they've moved the DEF tank. And they didn't say exactly where on the truck, but they said they moved the DEF tank and shallowed it up so that it doesn't interfere with your ground clearance, which I know a lot of diesel 4x4 guys are going to really like. You know, because that was a gripe that I heard a lot, is that, especially if you had step tubes on your truck, you look at where the DEF tank hangs in your step tubes, your DEF tank was below the step tubes on your truck, meaning you essentially had no ground clearance. But apparently GM fixed that. The DEF tank is sucked up into the truck more, and it's not going to impede on ground clearance, which a lot of people are going to like, I hope. Oh, and towing and off-road stuff. Towing, we have no fucking clue yet. Pricing, no fucking clue. But earlier today, I did price out 2018 LTZ Crew Cab Long Box Duramax Diesel 4x4 to the 9. Not a high country. That ain't a work truck. That's a grandpa truck. I'm talking an LTZ. Still a work truck-ish. You know, post stereo, all sorts of protection packages, full warranties, everything. And the truck came out to $81,695 Canadian MSRP. That's expensive as hell. Now, if we look at the way the half tons are, 2018 half tons, fully done up to an LTZ, Z71 and everything, of the 2017-2018 year, they come up to about $65,000-ish, depending on like certain options can sway the price by like $4,000. And the 2019s are starting Like the trail bosses that are actually at College Park GM right now are like 81. They are matching a brand new, well, not a brand new, but they are matching the current Duramax in price right now. Now some of that could be dealer markup, but since I don't have an effective pricing tool for the 2019 half tons, I'm just gonna have to go off sticker. And they're starting at like 81. So yeah. Pricing, I bet we can expect a relatively well-equipped Duramax to be 100, like literally $100,000 MSRP, not dealer markup, MSRP $100,000. Crazy, I know. Towing specs, I think since Chevy's going for a longer rear gear, we're gonna see very similar, like 28,000. They might get to the 30K. They might. I'm hoping so, because that'd be sick. But I think they're going to be sticking with the 28K, 29K number. Payload, I can see an increase in it, but maybe it'll stay the same. Again, this is like speculation because we're given no towing and payload numbers yet. So it's either going to improve or stay the same. I don't see them going down. Because that's the one thing that isn't helping move Chevy heavy-duty trucks, and that is the payload number. Now, 95% of people who actually buy a heavy-duty Duramax or a heavy-duty Cummins or whatever probably aren't going to be pulling 30,000 pounds. But it's a nice number. Just like any Hellcat or Demon owner, they're not going to be able to put down that whole 707 or 840 horsepower. They're just not. But it's a nice number to boast about. So like I said, final word, I'm optimistic as hell. I can't wait to see this truck in person and give it a drive. I'm really looking forward to doing more stuff. There's been some new stuff on the 2019 or the 2020 Corvette C8 and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. I'll be covering all of that stuff as it comes up to my attention. But I hope you guys have had a great day. I hope you guys will have an even better day after hearing all this interesting information about the new 2500 HDs. And I will see you all in the next video. Later.